Itachi Uchiha spent years being hated by his younger brother Sasuke, who believed Itachi had murdered their entire clan for power. In reality, Itachi had been forced to choose between his family and his village, ultimately sacrificing the Uchiha clan to prevent a civil war that would have destroyed Konoha. When Sasuke finally confronted Itachi, already dying from a terminal illness, Itachi could have easily killed his brother. Instead, he orchestrated their final battle to awaken Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan and remove Orochimaru's curse mark. Even as Sasuke attacked him with killing intent, Itachi protected his brother one last time. In his final moments, Itachi approached Sasuke not with hatred but with love, poking his forehead just like when they were children. He died protecting the brother who had spent years planning his murder, ensuring Sasuke would survive to learn the truth about their clan's destruction. Itachi's sacrifice was complete. He died as a villain in Sasuke's eyes, never revealing that everything he had done was to protect both his brother and his village. His final act wasn't just protecting Sasuke physically, but preserving his innocence by letting him maintain his hatred rather than burden him with the truth. Vegeta's relationship with Goku defined his entire character arc, from sworn enemy to reluctant ally to the ultimate sacrifice. For years, Vegeta's pride demanded that he surpass Goku, the low-class Saiyan who had humiliated the Prince of all Saiyans. During the Majin Buu saga, Vegeta allowed himself to be controlled by Babidi to gain the power needed to finally defeat Goku. Their fight was everything Vegeta had dreamed of, a chance to prove his superiority once and for all. But when Fat Buu began slaughtering innocent people, Vegeta was forced to confront a painful truth. Realizing that only a pure heart could defeat Majin Buu, and knowing he wasn't pure enough himself, Vegeta made the ultimate sacrifice. He knocked out Goku, the man he'd spent his life trying to surpass, and faced Majin Buu alone. Vegeta's final explosion was meant to destroy both himself and Buu, sacrificing his life to protect not just Earth, but specifically Goku, the rival who had pushed him to become better. Even though the attack failed to kill Buu, Vegeta's willingness to die for his greatest rival marked the complete transformation of his character from villain to hero. Obito's hatred for Kakashi consumed him for decades. Believing that Kakashi had allowed Rin to die, Obito became the masked man who orchestrated countless tragedies, including the Nine-Tails attack that killed Naruto's parents. When Kakashi and Obito were finally reunited as enemies, their battle was intensely personal. Obito blamed Kakashi for everything that had gone wrong in his life, while Kakashi carried the guilt of failing his teammate. Their conflict seemed destined to end in mutual destruction. But when Kaguya emerged as an even greater threat, Obito realized that his hatred had been misdirected. In the other dimension, when Kaguya's attack was about to kill Kakashi and Sakura, Obito made a split-second decision that defined his true character. Obito threw himself in front of Kaguya's attack, taking the full force of her deadly technique to protect Kakashi, the man he had blamed for all his suffering. As he died, Obito finally understood that Kakashi had been trying to protect Rin just as desperately as he had. His final act was giving Kakashi his remaining Sharingan power, ensuring that his former teammate would have the strength to continue the fight. Obito died protecting the person he had hated most, finally finding peace by choosing love over revenge. Grimjo's rivalry with Ichigo was built on pure battle lust and the desire to prove superiority. As the Sexta Espada, Grimjo saw Ichigo as the perfect opponent, someone strong enough to give him the fight he craved, but also someone he was determined to destroy personally. Their battles in Hueco Mundo were intensely personal, with Grimjo going to extreme lengths to ensure he would be the one to kill Ichigo. He even helped Ichigo recover his strength, just so their final battle would be more satisfying. During the Thousand-Year Blood War arc, when Ichigo was overwhelmed by Asukin's deadly poison and facing certain death, Grimjo made an unexpected choice. Despite their history of mutual antagonism, Grimjo intervened to save Ichigo's life. Grimjo's decision to protect Ichigo wasn't motivated by friendship or redemption, but by his twisted sense of honor. He couldn't accept anyone else killing his rival, and he refused to let Ichigo die in a way that didn't involve their personal combat. By saving Ichigo from Asukin, Grimjo effectively chose his enemy's survival over his own grudges, acknowledging that some bonds transcend simple hatred. His protection of Ichigo showed that even the most savage rivalries could evolve into something resembling twisted respect. Marum was born to be humanity's destroyer, the Chimera Ant King, who viewed humans as nothing more than food. His relationship with Netero represented the ultimate clash between species, the strongest human versus the perfect predator, designed to replace humanity. When Netero challenged Marum to single combat, it was supposed to be humanity's last stand. Netero knew he couldn't win, but planned to use the poor man's rose bomb hidden in his heart to ensure mutual destruction. After their intense battle, Marum began to understand Netero's strength and humanity's potential. When the bomb's poison began affecting him, Marum could have spent his final hours destroying human settlements in revenge. Instead, Marum chose to spend his dying moments with Komugi, the blind human girl who had taught him about the beauty of human potential. When the poison began affecting her too, Marum's final act was using his remaining life force to ease her suffering. By choosing love over revenge and protecting the human who had changed his understanding of the world, Marum died not as humanity's enemy, but as someone who had transcended his nature to embrace what humans represented at their best. Haku's loyalty to Zabuza was absolute, but his gentle nature conflicted with the brutal world of shinobi. When he fought Naruto and Sasuke on the bridge, Haku held back because he couldn't bring himself to kill children, even though it would have ensured Zabuza's victory. Zabuza had saved Haku from a life of persecution and given him purpose, but their relationship was built on Haku being a tool rather than a person. When Gato's mercenaries arrived to kill the wounded Zabuza, Haku faced a choice between his mission parameters and his true feelings. Realizing that Zabuza was about to be killed while helpless, Haku abandoned his fight with Naruto and Sasuke to protect his master. He threw himself between Zabuza and Gato's attacks, taking fatal wounds to save the man who had always claimed to see him only as a weapon. Haku's sacrifice awakened something in Zabuza that had been buried for years. Seeing his loyal companion die to protect him forced Zabuza to confront his own humanity and the bond he had tried to deny. Haku died protecting someone who had never acknowledged their relationship as anything more than master and tool, but his sacrifice ultimately redeemed both of them by proving that even the most hardened killers could inspire and feel genuine love. Ace's relationship with Admiral Akainu was defined by ideological opposition and personal hatred. Akainu represented everything Ace despised about the world government's absolute justice, while Ace embodied the free spirit of piracy that Akainu was determined to eliminate. During the Marineford War, when Akainu insulted Whitebeard and everything the pirate crew stood for, Ace couldn't control his anger. Their confrontation was intensely personal, with Akainu using psychological warfare to provoke Ace into a fight he couldn't win. When Akainu's magma fist targeted Luffy, who was exhausted and defenseless, Ace made an instant decision that defined his character. Despite his hatred for Akainu and his desire for revenge, Ace threw himself in front of the attack to protect his younger brother. Ace's final words weren't about defeating Akainu or continuing their ideological battle, but expressions of love for his family and gratitude for being accepted. He chose to die protecting Luffy, rather than live to continue fighting Akainu. His sacrifice wasn't just about saving Luffy's life, it was about proving that the bonds between pirates was stronger than the world government's notion of absolute justice. Ace died protecting what he loved, rather than destroying what he hated. Piccolo's entire existence was originally defined by his hatred for Goku. Reborn from the evil in Kami's heart, Piccolo's sole purpose was to destroy the Saiyan who had defeated his previous incarnation, Demon King Piccolo. When Raditz arrived on Earth and revealed Goku's Saiyan heritage, Piccolo was forced into an uneasy alliance with his greatest enemy. Their combined attack killed both Raditz and Goku, seemingly giving Piccolo everything he had wanted. But during the year spent training Gohan, Piccolo began to change. The bond he formed with Goku's son awakened emotions he didn't know he possessed. When the Saiyans arrived, Piccolo found himself fighting not for conquest, but for protection. When Nappa's attack threatened to kill Gohan, Piccolo made a choice that surprised everyone, including himself. He threw himself in front of the blast, taking fatal damage to protect the son of his greatest enemy. As he died in Gohan's arms, Piccolo realized that his sacrifice wasn't just about protecting a child, it was about protecting the future that Goku represented. By dying for Gohan, Piccolo effectively died protecting Goku's legacy and everything his former enemy stood for. Rhina's guilt over his role in destroying Wall Maria and killing countless people, including Eren's mother, created a complex relationship with his former friend. As the Armored Titan, Rhina was directly responsible for much of Eren's suffering and hatred. When Rhina's true identity was revealed, Eren's sense of betrayal was absolute. The person he had trusted and fought alongside was the monster who had destroyed his life. Their subsequent battles were intensely personal, fueled by years of deception and tragedy. During the final battle against Eren's founding titan, Rhina faced a choice between self-preservation and stopping the rumbling. Despite knowing that Eren would likely kill him, Rhina chose to fight against his former friend's plan to destroy the world. Rhina's decision to oppose Eren wasn't about heroism or redemption, pouncage. It was about taking responsibility for the cycle of hatred he had helped create. By fighting against Eren's genocide, Rhina was effectively protecting the very people who had every reason to hate him. His willingness to die, stopping the rumbling, represented his acceptance that some things were more important than his own survival, even if it meant protecting people who would never forgive him for his past crimes. Deidara's artistic philosophy was fundamentally opposed to Sasuke's Sharingan abilities. The Uchiha's analytical approach to combat stripped away the beauty and spontaneity that Deidara valued in his explosive art, making their conflict deeply personal and philosophical. When Deidara fought Sasuke, it wasn't just about winning, it was about proving that true art was about momentary beauty rather than eternal preservation. Sasuke's ability to predict and counter his techniques represented everything Deidara despised about the Sharingan. After exhausting his clay supply and losing his arms, Deidara faced certain defeat. But rather than accept capture or death at Sasuke's hands, he chose to create his ultimate artistic statement, turning his own body into a massive bomb. Deidara's final explosion was meant to kill both himself and Sasuke, but in protecting his artistic philosophy, he was also inadvertently protecting Sasuke from a fate worse than death, being captured and used by others. His Zero explosion represented the ultimate expression of his art, a moment of perfect beauty that existed only briefly before disappearing forever. By choosing mutual destruction over defeat, Deidara protected both his ideals and his enemy's freedom. Before his redemption, Gaara's relationship with Naruto was built on mutual recognition and hatred. Both were Jinchuriki who had suffered because of the monsters sealed within them, but they had chosen opposite paths. Naruto sought connection while Gaara embraced isolation and violence. During their first encounter in the Chunin exams, Gaara saw Naruto as living proof that Jinchuriki could find happiness and acceptance. This realization filled him with rage and jealousy, making Naruto the focus of all his hatred and self-loathing. When they fought in the Forest of Death, Gaara was determined to prove that Naruto's approach was naive, and that only through strength and fear could Jinchuriki survive. Their battle was as much about philosophy as physical power, but when Gaara was defeated and forced to confront his own pain, Naruto's words about the importance of protecting others began to change his perspective. Later, when the Akatsuki extracted Shukaku and left Gaara dead, it was Naruto who fought desperately to save him. Gaara's eventual resurrection and transformation into Kazekage represented his choice to protect the very people who had once feared and rejected him, including those who had supported Naruto against him during their earlier conflict. Madara's relationship with Hashirama defined the entire ninja world's history. Despite their childhood friendship, Madara came to see Hashirama as the ultimate obstacle to his vision of peace, someone whose idealistic approach would ultimately fail and cause more suffering. When Madara was resurrected during the Fourth Great Ninja War, his goal was to defeat Hashirama's legacy and prove that only through the infinite Tsukuyomi could true peace be achieved. Their final battle was the culmination of a philosophical conflict that had lasted generations. After being manipulated by Black Zetsu and used to resurrect Kaguya, Madara realized that his entire plan had been part of someone else's scheme. In his final moments, as Kaguya's power consumed him, Madara faced a choice about how to use his remaining strength. Rather than strike back at Hashirama or Naruto, who represented everything he had opposed, Madara chose to help them by providing crucial information about Kaguya's weaknesses. He effectively protected his greatest enemy's student by sharing intelligence that would help defeat their common foe. Madara's final act was acknowledging that Hashirama's approach might have been correct after all, and that protecting the future was more important than vindicated his own philosophy. He died helping those he had spent lifetimes trying to defeat.